All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is a great day today because Antonio Pierce has officially been named the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Folks, Josh McDaniels' tenure in Las Vegas was an absolute dumpster fire. So they fire him in week 9 of his second season, and they call up Antonio Pierce from the defense to be the official interim head coach. He leads the Las Vegas Raiders to a 5-4 record and gets the team completely back on track. The culture, the vibe, the energy, the aura of the Las Vegas Raiders is awesome right now. It's something that the Raiders haven't felt in like over a year and a half when Josh McDaniels was the head coach for the team. All things considered, he just benches Jimmy Garoppolo, starts the 4th rounder, Aiden O'Connell, and the Las Vegas Raiders finish as a top 10 defense, one of the best defenses in the league since the firing of Josh, and leads them to an 8-9 record and just salvages the season and has Las Vegas Raiders fans excited about the future. We saw some really impressive football games, including a Christmas Day victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that was just a complete and utter upset, but just something you haven't seen the Raiders take down the Chiefs in way too long. Leads the Raiders team to 63 points on a shortened week against the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Under McDaniels this past season, the Las Vegas Raiders were, like, in general, a horrible offense. Like, literally a horrible offense. They had 0 double-digit victories. When Antonio Pierce stepped in, the Las Vegas Raiders recorded 3 double-digit wins in 9 games. And it was crazy, man. They almost beat the Dolphins. They beat the Chiefs. They had the 63-point win. Like, they averaged, guys, less than 16 points per game defensively with Antonio Pierce. That's, like, by far the best in the National Football League. I am so excited for the Las Vegas Raiders right now. And we're going to be talking more about this team and what they need to do because it's actually quite simple. The offensive coordinator is going to be make or break as far as, you know, how deep really can this team go. But we'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, if you guys enjoy, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content along with a couple of Raiders videos every single week. Raiders fans, if you could try and get this video to 100 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So yeah, just a crazy statistic. Here's an even crazier statistic. So we go back at this point many moons ago because the season is over. It's been over for a couple of weeks now. Antonio Pierce sparked the Raiders defense, which held the top-ranked Miami Dolphins offense out of the end zone completely in the second half. They ended up losing only by 7 points. They recorded multiple defensive touchdowns in back-to-back wins over the Chargers and the Chiefs, and they were actually the first team to accomplish that since the 2012 New England Patriots. I once again will reiterate this fact. The Raiders allowed an average of 16 points per game under Antonio Pierce, and that led the NFL in weeks 9 to 18. I mean, the defense out of nowhere, you know, Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree gets it going a little bit, you know, Max Crosby doing his thing. The defense, guys were just stepping up all over, all 3 sides of the defense. Guys were making plays, guys were getting turnovers, and I feel like that was something we hadn't seen too much from the Raiders in several seasons. It's like, you know, the Raiders, it feels like in my entire life, I'm 24 years old, it feels like the Raiders never really had this elite level defense, and that completely changed when Antonio Pierce was implemented, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But here's the thing. The Raiders, report just dropped a couple of days ago. They're interested in Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator. It's going to make or break the Raiders next season. I do think they need to go out there and acquire a quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be through the draft or if it's going to be through a draft trade or, you know, some trade in general. The Raiders are just barely outside of the top 10 in the NFL draft. You can still go out there and probably get a guy like Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, I don't think, but they could certainly trade up and acquire a Jaden Daniels. I've seen some mock drafts where they trade for the #1 pick from the Chicago Bears, although I hate it because you're getting rid of Max Crosby, so I'm all set on that. But the point is this, man. The Raiders locker room is beautiful. And we've been really honing in on this theme on this channel last month or so. Like, it's so rare right now for some reason in the NFL and sports in general to just have this united locker room. And I guess it makes sense when you have, you know, all these grown-ass men on a football team or on a sports team, like what are the chances everybody gets along? And you heard guys like Max Crosby say, look, man, if we don't hire Antonio Pierce, I will request a trade. And so I love that he did that because he's the leader of this football team. He's the leader of the defense, and they're so talented, man. And they have this young, hungry, and cheap defense that's just ready to make noise. And like I said, my whole life, I feel like I haven't really seen even above average defense. And right now, or in the last half of the season, they played at an elite level. And the defense is only going to get better. And they did a fine job drafting. I know that's in the past, so I'm curious. Champ Kelly, I think, is unbelievable GM. You went out there and you acquired some guys like Jack Jones. You made a couple of roster moves, or roster tweaks, I should say. Champ Kelly did a phenomenal job once he stepped in as the interim GM. Antonio Pierce did a phenomenal job. Patrick Graham, I would imagine, is going to be back. I'm so excited about this Raiders defense. And then we take a look at the offense, and it's like, all things considered, man, I think they did a perfectly fine job when Aiden O'Connell stepped in. Like, this is a 4th-round rookie QB who steps in once Antonio Pierce is, officially the head coach. And, he throws 7 interceptions, but, he throws for 185 yards per game. But that number's a little bit skewed. We revert back to, like, the Chiefs game, where after the first quarter, offensively, y'all really needed to run the football. They do need to make a couple of tweaks offensively. Like, you got to find the right offense coordinator. You got to find the right quarterback. Maybe make a tweak at the right tackle position. I would imagine Josh Jacobs' tenure is done with the Raiders because Zamir White stepped in when Josh Jacobs got injured. And, I know Josh had a phenomenal season last year, and it was not a great year in the offensive line in the first half of the season. Josh McDaniels didn't give him any help really there. But at the end of the day, man, I really think there's only like one superstar running back in the National Football League, and his name's Christian McCaffrey. And it just feels like at the running back position in the year 2024, running the football, you need to be able to run the football, but it's not what's winning Super Bowls. It's not what's winning championships. And I think Zamir White, it's crazy because before Josh Jacobs went down, we were sitting behind the mic and saying, I think Zamir White's just going to get straight up dropped in this offseason. He comes in absence of Josh Jacobs and absolutely lights it up. And like I said, single-handedly wins you some football, or not single-handedly because of the defense, but, we revert back to that Chiefs game where he just essentially sealed the deal, won them the football game in the closing minutes of it. So I'm so excited. You've got some decisions to make with Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. If you go with the rookie quarterback, is Devontae Adams going to be traded? There's a lot of moving parts offensively, but I'm so glad Antonio Pierce, a great leader of the men, united locker room, something you really just don't see anymore. I am so excited for the Las Vegas Raiders' future and this offseason. I am so glad they made this move. I would have loved Harbaugh, but, I think outside of Harbaugh, I do think not Patrick Graham. I think Antonio Pierce has a really good shot at being like a Dan Campbell and a Mike Vrabel type of coach. So I'm so excited. I know my fellow Raiders fans are as well. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. But most importantly, guys, give me your thoughts, especially my Raiders fans, on Antonio Pierce being head coach for the Raiders for the foreseeable future. Peace.